Okay, everybody. In this video, you're going to get to this point, to where you have pretty much a full working application. Go to Pants, put on some pants. You can go to Hats, put on some hats. Hello, welcome to part 2 of creating a Flash dress-up application. In this one, we'll be applying some simple code to bring the application together to get the window buttons active and the garments in those windows clickable to be applied to the doll. So let's not waste any time talking, and we will now pick up at the exact point we stopped in yesterday's video, part 1. Okay, my first objective is to get this little rectangle primitive, or this big rectangle primitive rather, that's going to hold all of my clickable shirts to be applied to the character. I'm going to change that into a movie clip. So I'm going to right click, convert to symbol. It's going to be a movie clip symbol, and it can be named whatever you want in your library. Let's name this shirt pane. Actually, you can just name it window pane. Whatever you want to name it. Let's make sure that has an I. There we go. Okay. Now that's a movie clip. And since this one is going to hold my shirts in it, I'm going to give it an instance name of shirts window 1. So I instance name that shirts window 1. And when I make the next one for the pants, it's going to be pants window 1, and so on and so forth. Now let's double click inside of this new shirts window 1 movie clip that we just created, and now you can see inside is just our rectangle primitive that we had there. Right click that and convert that to symbol 2, and just call this window BG in the library. And we're doing this because you're going to have this same window pane in all of your other clothing categories, so you might want to change it down the road. And you don't want to have to change it in every one of those window movie clips. You just change it in one, and it'll change in all the other corresponding ones. And I'll show you how we do that. So press OK. And now, right on top of this, let's call this window BG, this layer right here. And make a new layer above it, and call that clickable items. Now in your library is where all of your clickable items are sitting, because we imported them. So you can see I've got my doll there, and here copy 2, that should be a shirt. This is probably the black shirt. So I'm going to drag that out to stage. It's a movie clip, that is the black shirt. And I don't really want it so big, I don't need it so big. Since we're using this method, the clothing that the person can click on can be any size you want. It can be actual size like it is here, or you can simply make it smaller. So let's hold shift and drag it from the corner here. So like I said, you can leave yours actual size, and you also have the choice of making it a little bit smaller if you want. Maybe you want to stick more items in there without having to make extra windows. You can make the items a little bit smaller and people will still understand what's going on. Alright, so this movie clip, we're going to have to give it an instance name of whatever it was named in that movie clip. Here, we have to go check. Here, Shirts MC. Let's go back out into Shirts MC. And here we have Black T. See that name of that frame label? Let's grab that name of that frame label. Let's go back here into our window pane for the shirts. And let's give this little movie clip an instance name that matches. Black T. So that has an instance name of Black T. And we can place it where we need it to be in the window. Now let's do the same for the next T. Let's close that one, open this one, and that should be the green shirt. Let's drag that out. And that one I'm pretty sure was instance name green T. So we can just add that frame label name as the instance name for this movie clip. These can also be button symbols. If you would like to just right click these, convert to symbol, and make them a button symbol. That way they have the little cool mouse thing, and you can put over effects on them. Maybe you want it to move a little bit when the user puts their mouse over the item or whatever. But I'm just going to leave mine as movie clips, and I'm going to make them have the little hand symbol when the mouse goes over them by applying a little bit of code. So we'll have them where when the user's mouse goes over the item, it turns into the little clickable hand. Because usually if you don't enable that with a movie clip, the mouse won't turn into a little hand symbol for the user, and they might not know that they're over a clickable item. So in the code, we'll be sure to make that enabled. Okay, since these are two same kind of shirts, I'm going to match my dimensions on this. So the dimensions on this are 81.75 and height is 78. So I can just change that. 81.75 and the height is 78. So now it matches the other one. And let's just put it next to the other one. So the important factor to remember is that we're giving each clickable little movie clip the instance name that corresponds to the frame label that this shirt would represent within the shirt's movie clip sitting right here. As long as you understand that, when we put the array in the little loop to add all the event listeners in a really slim sort of way, we're using these methods to make the code more slim. So that way we can use an array and add event listeners through a loop in just a few lines of code, then rather than having, let's say if I had 80 shirts or maybe 20 shirts, I don't want to have to add an event listener for each one of those. I'll wind up with a ton of code. So what we're going to attempt to do is use an array and loop through the code to add event listeners through the loop, which I have a tutorial for at developphp.com. We're just going to simply attempt to apply that code in this situation because this is where that kind of code would come in really handy. Okay, before I apply the code, I'm going to go back into the main timeline here. And where it says shirts MC, it has an instance name of shirts. So I'm going to go shirts underscore MC so things make more sense. Because this button is named shirts 1 and we don't want to get confused. So we'll name this shirts underscore MC. Now, let's click back into our shirts window 1 movie clip where all the little clickable shirts are. And let's apply the code to make the magic happen. Let's highlight the clickable items layer, add a new layer, double click it called AS3. And highlight that keyframe and press F9 or you go to Window Actions. Once your Actions panel is open, we're going to start putting in some code now. And you guys are going to like this code a lot because what it's going to do is enable you to add all your event listeners and make all of these items clickable in just a few lines of code, no matter if you had 50 of these items sitting within this shirts window pane. You have 20, you have 50, you have 5, it doesn't matter. This code, which is just a few lines, is going to make all the magic happen for all the items there. And I'll even show you where I'm going to snatch it up. It's at developphp.com. If I go up to the search bar here and I just type in add event listeners and I search that, I should get the first result, easiest way to add event listeners to stage objects or buttons using a loop. I'm going to go down and I'm going to grab this little bit of code right here. Now let's highlight this keyframe, open it up, pipe in that code that we just took from developphp.com. Let's indent those right here. And let's just change up what this says a little bit. Let's call this my garment array to where it makes more sense to us in this situation. And the garments are going to be black T, which is the instance name for that black T button. We also have a green T, and they don't have to be in any specific order. Next one was a blue T. And the last one I had was a black tank for my black tank top. This last array element I can get rid of. So if you have 50 buttons, shirts, or whatever in there, you put all 50 within this comma separated array, okay? So each item gets separated by comma. Now in the for each loop here, let's say for each var garment, so it makes good sense to us, in my garment array, we're going to add an event listener to that garment. So let's just take garment right here, put it right there. Garment.add event listener, mouse event of click. So let's name this on garment click, which these are buttons, so you can leave it actually the way it was, but I'm just rewriting it to make more sense. So the function that's going to fire off when any of the garments are clicked are function on garment click. Then you simply, instead of going to pages movie clip, we want to go to shirts underscore MC underscore MC, and shirts underscore MC is sitting in the movie clip parent timeline. So let's go movie clip, open parentheses, close parentheses, put a dot, and in between parentheses put in parent. And what that's going to do is allow the code to go out of this movie clip. So say if we double click back into the main scene, it's going to go out of that movie clip into the main scene and affect shirts underscore MC. Make sense? That's how it works. Okay. If you were to just say remove this and say shirts underscore MC.goTo and stop event.target.name, then that means shirts underscore MC would have to live within this timeline, but it lives in this parent timeline, so you have to say movie clip parent. Okay, so let's leave that in place. So what this is doing is going into the shirts movie clip, go to and stop the frame label for whatever the name is of the garment that's being clicked. Isn't that slick? That's why we put the frame labels to match the actual garment instance names. So the garment instance names here match the frame labels within that shirts movie clip. Now the last thing we have to do is make sure that these little items are enabled. So let's run this code and see what happens. If I click the green shirt, it's applied to the character. If I click on the black tank, that gets applied. The green one's removed. That's how it works, okay? Now, we want to make sure that these items are mouse enabled. You see when I put my mouse over those items, they don't give me the little clickable hand thing. And I'll show you how to add that very simply to each one of those items within that same loop of code. Let's go back into the code, and right here in the for each loop, right under when we add the event listener, we can make the button mode for that garment true. So now let's test by pressing Control Enter. You can see when I go over them now, I get that cool little mouse hand clickable thing to let me know that that is a clickable item on stage. So you guys okay with this code? All you have to do is basically put each one of your garments instance names within this array of elements, and then for each loop through those array elements, and adding event listeners in a very slick sort of way to each one of those items. And the fact that we use the same name for the instance name of the buttons or the garments as we did for the frame labels within the main movie clip of that item makes everything nice and simple. Okay, now let's go back into the main scene, and this pants movie clip we're going to name pants underscore MC instead of just pants, so things make more sense as well. So that's shirts underscore MC. This is pants underscore MC. Now this movie clip, which is instance name of window pane in the library, is called shirts window 1 as an instance name. So what we're going to do is go into the library and find the instance of window pane, which is sitting right here. I'm going to duplicate that now. Right click it, duplicate it. Let's call it window pane pants. Okay. Now let's drag it out from the library. Now where this one is living is fine because this is going to be my default garment window when the application loads for the user to dress me. So its location is just dandy. Now what I'm going to do is go into the library where I just duplicated that window pane and made window pane pants. I'm going to pull that window pane pants out, and you'll see that now that I duplicated it, if I double click into this one and I change anything, let's say I press Control X and I remove that black one and the green one, you can see that they stay within the original movie clip, and that's because I duplicated it. I didn't just pull out a copy of the same window pane and then try to edit what's inside of it and expect everything here to stay okay. If you do that, everything here is going to be removed too, because it's the same instance of that object, unless you duplicate it like I just showed you how to do. You right click in your library, any object, you go to duplicate, and then once you drag that object out to stage, you can then alter its inner timeline or whatever. So this one we're going to give an instance name, like this one has shirts window 1. We're going to make this one pants window 1. Pants window 1. And it is going to live off to the side outside of our stage, so nobody can see it until they press this pants button. So let's see where the X position, or the Y position rather, is for this. Y position is 71. So let's make this one the same, 71. And then you can move its X position to be outside of the stage, sitting right there. Now double click inside of that, and just go ahead and remove all the shirts. And in the code, go up to the code and make this say pants underscore MC. And we're going to have to change what the garment names are. And I don't think I even have any pants imported into the stage yet. Oh yeah, I did. Let's see. Let's make sure. Yeah, I have black, blue, and green pants. Let's make sure those frame label names. Okay, black pants, blue pants, green shorts. Okay, so I can go back into my pants movie clip here, or the pants window pane, and I know that I have black pants, blue pants, and then the last one was green shorts. Now I'm going to drag those items out of my library, pop them here in the window, and then they'll be clickable just like the shirts were. And I'm going to make sure I give them the instance name that they are corresponding to those frame labels, okay? Just like we did for the shirts. Okay, I dragged them out from library. Now let's give them instance names that are correct. Black pants, blue pants, and this one, green shorts. Alright, they have instance names. The code is correct, I believe. Yep. Everything's good. Going into the correct movie clip in the parent timeline and to the corresponding frame label that matches these instance names. Now all we have to do is make sure that when these buttons are clicked up here, they control the locations of these window panes, okay? Because as it is now, the user will never ever get to be able to click on any of those pants until we make these buttons up here enabled. Okay, now let's bring it all together. Let's highlight the dynamic garment clips layer, add a new layer, and let's call that window, let's call it AS3 window changing code. Let's highlight that layer, or actually highlight that keyframe and press F9, or you can go to Window and Actions and open your Actions panel, pop in this code, and before we explain this code to you, let me just go ahead and show you what it'll do. Let's say I put a black shirt on him, or a black tank top, or whatever. Then I want to click Pants. You see, the Pants pane comes right into view. The Shirts pane, the window pane, is out of view now, and I can put shorts on them, or pants, or whatever I want. I can go back to Shirts and change this up. So it works really cool like that. And you would just want to make sure that your shirts and pants are layered correctly. So if you don't want them on the same layer, maybe you want the shirts MC and the pants MC, the garments on the doll, to be on different layers. So maybe your shirts are always above your pants, or your hats are always above your shirts, and things like that. You can set them up like that. Or you can just highlight one of these and press Control, Shift, up or down arrow keys to manipulate the hierarchy where they are on the same layer. Alright, now let's explain this code and you guys should be good to go. And before I explain the code to you, this is the logic of what's happening. Shirts is here by default when the app loads up. So if the user was to click Pants afterwards, we want Shirts to move to X position of 950, where the pants now are, and we want the pants to move to an X position of 308. See? 308 X position. That's where we want this pants movie clip to wind up when we click the pants button, and we want the shirts to move into its position over here at 950 X position. So that's what our code is set up to do. I tell you what, I'll just add the... No, we'll leave it like this because you guys saw me produce this whole app, so this code makes good sense. So what we're doing first up top is we create an array and a function for hiding all the windows. So when a button's clicked, we hide all windows, then just reveal the target window immediately after. So my shirts window 1 is here in my window array, and my pants window 1 is also in that array. If I want to put my hats window 1, I just type that in right there. And for however many I have, just put them in a comma separated. You just comma separate each one. Then this function called hide all windows is really called to run within all of your button click functions. So when I click this button called pants, this code is going to execute right here. And see hide all windows? It runs that function at that time. So this function called hide all windows, what happens inside of it is a little for each loop that will hide each window that's in this array. And then immediately after in your button function you just say pants window 1.x wherever you want to put it. And it's that easy. So if I wanted to have another function here for my... So when I want to put in hats, I'll just add the last two. I'll add the hats window and the footwear window, and then I'll show you the code how it looks complete for my little application, and we'll have a finished working product. Here, actually, before I do that, let me type in a little note to you guys. You can also choose to use the visible property of elements on stage rather than moving them like I'm doing with the X position property. So there's something called window.visible equals false, and that will actually make it just disappear. You say window.visible equals true, it makes it reappear. So whatever you decide, you can do this hundreds of different ways. Alright, I just added my hats MC. So if you go inside of that, you'll see I have it set up just like my other ones. Very similar. And I also have this hats window 1 movie clip, which inside of it has the hats that are clickable, and then the hat array and all that good stuff going on. Now all I have to do is go into my AS3 window changing code, since I added a new section, and here I go. I'm going to add hats window 1 to that array, that way it gets hidden with the rest. I'm going to add an event listener for hats window 1 right here. Let's make that say hats window 1 and this hats 1, because that's the hats 1 button. When that gets pressed, we want to move hats window 1. So we just need another little function here. Function, oh, that has to say show hats 1. Show hats 1. Show hats 1 down here, and that is hide all windows, that's fine. And then the hats window 1 X is 308. And let's see if this all works now. So this has an instance name of hats underscore MC. This has an instance name of hats 1 as a button. So that should do it. And all you have to do is make sure this has an instance name of hats window 1. And then press Control Enter. Hats. There you go. And then you can go to pants, put on some pants. You can go to shirts and stick on some shirts. It's pretty cool. Here, let's put them all in black. Let's go to hats. Black hat. Cool, man. Alright, now you have a better idea of how to put the whole application together as a package and have you a nice little dress-up game or dress-up application where you're dressing up dolls or avatars, whatever you want to do. And here's a little hint for some of you guys. If you happen to have a movie clip that is being designed by somebody in real time on the stage or user, that movie clip, ActionScript 3 can export any movie clip through code. You can export any movie clip as a JPEG image. So say you let somebody finish dressing some character or avatar or whatever. Once they hit a button called finish, you can have ActionScript export a JPEG image of whatever they worked on there, the finished product. And another little tip for you guys who are paying attention, if you want to have a button up here that says clear or undress or restart, whatever you want to name it, you can just make that button have direct all of these movie clips to go to and stop on frame label default. So if you want to make a button like that, you just direct it to go to each one of these movie clips and go to and stop default. And that'll make your character naked again or put it back to its default state of being. Okay? Like it is here, that's default. If I dress him up and then I want to, and I put all these things on him and I want to just clear it and start over, you can have a button there that says start over, click it, and then once they click it, you make all of these movie clips go to and stop default. Alright, so that should give you guys a real good look into the simplest way to make a character dress up with nice lean code, and you can have as many items as you need within these windows, and you get really clean code inside of these windows in a loop that's making the magic happen to dress the character. So you can have 50 items in here, and it's just a few lines of code that apply all of those 50 items to the character. Alright, I hope you guys had fun, and we'll see you in the next lesson series. This one is wrapped up. You're ready to go.